This is the Ferretti 580, and you may recall that we toured this boat at the Dusseldorf Boat Show. We're catching up with it again at Cannes though, because the difference is here, we can go and drive it. Starting price is 1.6 million euros excluding VAT, but let's not hang around, let's get out to sea and see what she can do. I'm Jack Haynes, welcome to YachtBuyer. You'll notice that even though this boat is only Volvo Penta engine options, D13 900 or 1000 horsepower, you haven't got Volvo componentry on the dash, and that's because the steering and joystick system was developed with Zenta. Ferretti Group have been working with them for a long time, so you have their fly-by-wire steering system and also the joystick, but it works in a very similar way. So it combines the shafts, it combines the thrusters, meaning you push the joystick and the boat follows suit. But as I said, we've got 2000 horsepower below the deck. We have got 11 people on board, so we shall see how that affects performance. But if I just bury the throttles, there's a little bit of a lag, and then actually she jumps up quite nicely. We're at 20 knots already. You're going to top out about 31 knots with this load of people on board. Maybe with a lighter load it might be a bit more. Yeah, 31, 32 knots, and then 25 knots is really where you're going to be cruising at. And we're there now. And it feels really comfortable. You're consuming a combined 250 litres an hour, probably giving you a range of approximately 300 nautical miles. But what surprises me, A, is the helm position, because ergonomics hasn't always been the strong suit of Ferretti Group, but this is a really good position. I'm nice and close to the wheel, the seat's really comfortable and high backed, I can reach everything relatively comfortably, and the steering wheel feels absolutely lovely in your hands. And actually, although the wheel is heavy, the steering is really nice and light. It responds very nicely to inputs. As I said, it's fly-by-wire, so it's very, very smooth. Swing that big heavy wheel from side to side and it reacts nicely for a 60-foot Flybridge boat, and it's not particularly rough here. We've got V-drive shafts, so it feels really, really planted, cuts through the water really nicely. Anything we have come across, it just romps over really comfortably. It's only a light chop with a bit of wash from the other boats on the sea trial here at the Cannes Boat Show. But yeah, it's a good position. You can have a navigator seat as an option. It's the same downstairs. They come as standard with one, but you can have two. I'd probably option it. It's quite nice to have the option to have somebody else up here alongside you. The helm station is clear and classy. It's a bit breezy, as you can probably hear. The windscreen is low and a long way forward, so you're not really getting much protection. But on a warm day in the Med, that's not too much of an issue. Might be a bit different in Northern Europe. But of course, you've got a helm station downstairs to get out of the elements, so why don't we pop down there and see what that's like. The slick window line may look great from the outside, but it does cause a few issues in terms of visibility from this lower helm. It's a very shallow windscreen, so I've immediately felt the need to stand to see comfortably. And part of the issue is that you've got those lovely big cushions up there on the foredeck, which are great when you're lounging around in the sun, not so great when you're trying to navigate from the lower helm. But at least this standing position is comfortable. The seat's got a bolster section on it, so I can lean quite nicely. Still got a great view of the dash. Everything's quite far away from you, but you have got a great view of the MFDs, and this is all 3D printed, this section here, which is something they want to develop a bit more. But yeah, it works nicely enough in terms of a viewpoint, but you are leaning out your seat a fair bit to use everything, and if you're sitting down, it's even worse. Now, it is a single piece windscreen, which means you've got quite a thick mullion for these blind spots as well, so not the greatest view from the helm, but of course the benefit is you have really nice quiet cruising. It's well insulated, the engines are V-drive, so they're slightly further back, and it is a really nice quiet boat cruising along at these 22 knot cruising speeds. Now, some of this boat's rivals have a side door. This one obviously doesn't, but you have got a manual window, so you can at least ventilate with some natural breeze if you want to, and also means you can bark at your crew from this lower helm if you need to when you're coming into moor. And on that point, you're probably not going to be doing a huge amount of slow speed manoeuvring from down here. You'll either be up on the Flybridge where you've got that great all-round view. There's also the option to have a third cockpit station, docking station there in the cockpit, which I think certainly if you're mooring stern too, you will definitely want to tick on the options list. That's the driving experience then. Let's check out the decks and interiors. Let's start at the stern then, as we always do. Hydraulic bathing platform, naturally, also where you're going to store the tender and float that on and off. Down here, this is just a storage area, essentially. It's like a little boot. Lift it up on gas rams and you've got some storage there to chuck some kit in. Equal access up both sides into the cockpit. The deck shower's down there as well, so you can wash off after you've been for a swim. And this is a typical Ferretti touch up here. The covered mooring gear, something they do on a lot of their boats, but it's really nice stuff as well. Nice big solid cleat, you've got a winch, and then nicely you've got a rope bin with a drain, so any wet lines can drain away when the boat's all tied up. Controls down here for the platform and the passerelle. Obviously the passerelle shoots out from this section here if you're moored stern to. And then we're into the cockpit, and there's some fun and games going on with this seating area here. It's set up in sort of lounging mode at the moment, as you can see, but you can slide the backrest this way to bring it to about halfway to make it into more of a dining position, because obviously this table opens out to double its size. It's absolutely vast. It also drops right down to extend the lounging space if you want to use it as a lounging area. So yeah, that's a really useful space. No wet bar or anything in this section, but you have got a third control station as an option, which I mentioned out in the water, but it's down here if you do have it. And under there, you don't have the joystick, interestingly, but you have got twin throttles and bow and stern throttle control, so you've still got great control from back here. I think the joystick would be too tall. As you can see, you have to put the throttles flat to close the lid, so I think the joystick would cause issues there. A bit of storage under these units here. Obviously a nice staircase, that's the Flybridge. We're going to head up there in a moment, but let's go around to starboard for now. This is quite a nice little touch. It's always useful to have somewhere to actually have that rather than just leave it propped up somewhere or lying around on deck. Really useful that it's back here as well. If you're picking up lines in the med, you can pull it out really easily and get on with your mooring. The other thing to notice is there's runners here, and that means you can enclose this entire cockpit with canopy covers, so of course that extends the living area if the weather isn't so good. The side decks are actually really good. They're lovely and wide. These are a little bit low, but they're very, very chunky. Look at the gauge on that stainless steel. That feels very solid. Can maybe do with something to grab onto up here, and this is something I noticed at Dusseldorf and it hasn't changed. These look very nice, but they bang your shoulder as you're moving forward. They could do with mounting those a little bit higher up, to be honest. No side door, as I said, so the only access onto the decks is from the cockpit, and there's no boarding gate here either. But what is very good on deck on the 580 is this forward lounge space. They've put a lot of work into this to really make it as big as possible. And I know most yards are doing these days, even at this size, but this is a really good one. And you know, I said it does restrict the view a little bit from the helm, but this is just a really lovely space. Look at the width and depth of that bench. You've got the two-way bench arrangement here as well, with a really nice slab of sunpad here. You get 3 people on there really comfortably. A nice teak detailing as well with the cup holders. You've got some storage down here. And then right forward, a very nice flat working area of the deck with the typical access to twin anchor lockers, good access to the windlass as well, and of course you've got your fair leads and cleats up here too. Let's head up to the top deck. Because this cockpit is so large, they can afford to have a really nice shallow staircase. It's very easy to get up here, good handholds either side, and when you get up here you've got plenty to grab onto as well. It is a Flybridge that you feel a little bit perched on. The sides are quite low, but the space is perfectly good. L-shaped seating area back here, this is pretty typical really for this genre. And then right downstairs the table extends, nice big teak lid. So that goes, you know, double its size. You're stuck in there when it's open if you're dining, but that is part and parcel of the design, I think, at this stage. Wet bar over here, this is a good size. Very, very big. A grill is an option. See, this boat's not got it, but what's nice, if you have got it, it's really easy to clear all the grime away into the sink, and you've got your usual array of cooling and ice creating tools underneath. This extension here is actually an option, but it just gives you somewhere else to perch and rest out. Ooh, naughty boy. But this is, you know, quite a nice extension really to give you a little bit more room next to the helm. If you don't have that, and obviously you just got open space, but I can't see why you wouldn't have it really. And then forward, it is just all about sunbathing space. 2 options in terms of coverage on the Flybridge. You can have a bimini, which this boat's got, and it folds forward when it's down, or you can have a hardtop. And actually, as hardtops on this size of boat go, it looks pretty good. They haven't tried to shoehorn a sunroof into it, so it's quite short, it's quite subtle, it doesn't completely ruin the profile of the boat when it's fitted. That's the outside then, let's head inside. Moving inside then, sliding door to one side, and then you have this drop down window. This is not exactly new, but it still works really well, and it's nice that it drops down really quite quickly. And then as a further addition, you have this top that pulls out and sort of flops over to give you a bar, sort of bar area here between the galley and the cockpit. And of course the whole point of having this aft galley layout is that you do have that really good connection between the two spaces. Now this isn't the biggest galley in the class, but with the space they've got, they've done a pretty good job of including things like, you know, big microwave oven, you've got a dishwasher down there, induction cooking up top, you know, nice bit of storage, bin down there, then a really big sink with a big heavy lid that's a bit tricky to store, but when it's in place it does extend the worktop, and you've got again a sort of bar area where you can arrange drinks and snacks, things like that. Obviously coffee machine is a must on an Italian boat, and then a little bit more storage at eye level up here. Cooling spaces over on this side. Obviously I had to put it over here to make sure they get the floor to ceiling domestic size fridge freezer, but yeah, you have your fridge there, freezer below. That's a decent size and really is expected on a boat of this size these days. In terms of the decor, you have classic and contemporary. Classic is what we have here. It's a little bit darker, but it's a really nice palette, very sort of warm and homely, comfortable. And talking of comfortable, it's a really nice, comfortable dinette area. Very soft cushions, very easy to relax in, but also with supportive enough backrest that if you are using this to dine, you've got enough support and it feels quite comfortable for extended periods. This is actually a movable squab, so you could put it this side of the table if you wanted, so you have another seat opposite this bench. But yeah, it's a really nice space to just chill out. And interestingly, they've actually got the control for the TV over here. The idea being that you push this button from over here, because this is where you're going to watch the TV from, so why not have the button over on this side, then close to the TV? And that just pops up from the sofa over there. This is actually an option. You can have a fixed TV, a much bigger fixed TV, but that's almost floor mounted, so you lose this sofa. Personally, I think having the sofa is nice, a bit more socialising space in here. You still get a decent enough TV, it's not quite as big as the fixed one. As I said out on the water, this is an option. If you want to have a little bit more floor space, you might just want to have the single helm, especially if the seating is quite intimate. But I think if you feel you're going to use this helm a lot, like upstairs, nice to have the two seats so that you can have some company and a navigator when the boat's moving along. Last thing to say up here then is this little storage section here. As you can see, this is probably what you're going to use it for, chucking in all the instrument covers and things like that. But these are really useful spaces, even on boats this big, just having somewhere to chuck stuff, very, very useful. Let's head downstairs. It's a 3-cabin layout on the 580, but you can have 2 or 3 bathrooms, and I would go for the 2-bathroom version for reasons that I'll explain in a moment. We'll start here though with the twin cabin. This one's the starboard, the 3rd guest cabin, but it's still a nice space. You've got a couple of good sized berths, you've got full-sized hanging locker in here, and a decent amount of natural light as well, because the window extends down here too. It hasn't got access to its own bathroom, but you have got the day head just around the corner. We'll look at that in a moment, but I think we should head through to the master now, because I think this is really what sets this boat apart. This lovely mezzanine effect you get looking down over the cabin. It's a lovely lower deck on this boat. They've worked very hard to make it feel different and special, and it most certainly does. And I love the fact that you arrive, sort of look down the main cabin, you've got this nice raised bureau here, and an enormous ensuite. And that is what you lose a bit of space in if you have the 3-bathroom version. And I just don't think you need it on a boat of this size. 3 bathrooms feels a bit like overkill. I think 2 VIP is ensuite with a day head, and this big owner's ensuite works perfectly. You run down a little staircase here, and then you're into the main cabin, and it's great because it drops down. You've got plenty of headroom overhead. It's pretty much flat. There is a lip over this side, but even so, the ceiling goes up, so someone of 6 foot can still walk around to that side of the bed. And look at the size of this bed. It's absolutely huge for a boat of this size. Set nice and low as well, so it's easy to get in and out of. The television is set into the mirror here, so when it's off, you've just got mirrored space there, and it's not this sort of big thing hanging on the wall, so that works nicely. And storage is good as well. Big hanging lockers by the mezzanine, and then lots of nice drawer and cupboard storage down here, so you should be able to squirrel away all of your kit if you're on here for a long time. And the use of materials is lovely as well. The woodwork's great. The sort of matte walnut looks lovely, and I like the use of fabric too, the grey fabric that you see throughout. Quite warm, quite homely, and just changes the aesthetic of it, so it's not all just big panels of timber. It's a really stylish space, as you'd expect from Ferretti. Moving forward, we have the last cabin, which is the VIP. And as we head there, I mentioned you have access to the day head, which is just here, good size, and that is ensuite to the VIP forward. Also worth pointing out that here you have access to the washer dryer. It's an option. If you have it, that's where it goes. And again, just useful storage here. They've got pillows and things in here. You just can't have enough of this stuff on a boat of this size. We're into the VIP, and you can probably see one of the issues that there isn't a huge amount of space at the end of this bed to get changed or to pass by, and also they haven't gone for a split door, so the door gobbles up quite a lot of room as well, and they're big, chunky, very, very nice doors and lovely handles, look and feel very classy, but they do eat into this cabin a little bit, and it's a bit of a step up into the bed as well. It's not set at that same height as the owner's cabin. Storage is good though. Again, big hang lockers either side, storage dotted all around the side, and you've got repeaters and plug sockets by the bed as well, so that's handy, and a reasonable run of hull window. No skylight in this cabin. There's an escape hatch, but there's no actual skylight to bring natural light down into here. But the benefit this cabin has, of course, is the direct access to the day head. A crew cabin is an option on the 580. This particular boat doesn't have it, but we'll cut in a shot of it from the Dusseldorf boat. What we can look at now is the engine room. Engine room access is pretty good. There's a really nice big hatch in the cockpit, and you drop down a teak ladder right between the two motors. As I said, they're mounted on V-drive, so they're a bit further back. You can just see those V-drive shafts running underneath the engine here. Access inboard is really very good. It's much more of a squeeze to get outside of the engines, but a nimble engineer could just about clamber over the other side. You have the Seakeeper mounted right aft here underneath the ladder, and then this boat's actually got a water maker fitted, and that's fitted up here. Again, pretty easy to access. Generator up in the top corner, that's easy enough to get to, and all the day-to-day stuff is absolutely fine. Dipstick, oil checks, water filters, all of that stuff that you're going to want to check on a regular basis is pretty good. You know, this size of boat, you can't expect standing headroom really in the engine room. It's obviously fine where the hatch is when you first come down to have a look around, and when you move forward it's sort of stooping room only. But in terms of engineering and fit out, it all seems pretty good. Thank you very much for watching that sea trial and tour. If you enjoyed it, please do give it a like. And if you'd like to watch a sea trial of one of this boat's key rivals, the Princess F55, you can click up here. And if you would like to subscribe to YachtBuyer, click up here. Thanks again.